So in the 1970s, it was a few years ago, they had thousands and thousands of parents that said that their children went and got a vaccine. It was usually this combination vaccine, like three different vaccines all in one, right? And then they said, their kid got sick, and after that, they weren't able to talk. They could barely walk, and so they came up with this term for it, autism. Oh, it's autism. No, it's not. You just scrambled that kid's brain. So they have thousands of cases of this reported from vaccines, and then hundreds of lawsuits against the vaccine makers. Hundreds each year. Hundreds. And these are multi-million dollar lawsuits. So, guess what they did? They went to Congress and they're like, "Oh, we need to make a law. This is way out of control. This is just untenable." So they made a law. It's called the National Childhood Vaccine Safety Act. Okay, they said we are going to put a stop to this. There's no hundreds of thousands of kids, hundreds of lawsuits every year, and this can't go on. So we're going to protect kids. We're going to put a stop to these vaccinations of babies. Completely outlaw combination vaccines. And then when they put that law in place, then the rate of autism diagnosis went down by 99%. But actually, I'm just joking. That's none of that actually happened. I just made that up. Okay, you want to know the real story? What happened? In
Okay.
that the first part is true about the thousands of parents reporting these cases of autism each year and hundreds of lawsuits, multi-million dollar lawsuits, okay? But the real law that they passed in Congress in 1986 is called the National Childhood Vaccination Injury Act. And you know what the law does? It protects the vaccine companies. It
Uh-huh.
says doesn't matter how many children you scramble their brains, you injure them. It's in the name of the law, National
Mhm.
Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. And now they're trying to tell us that vaccines don't cause injuries to children. There's a law, but the law doesn't protect the kids. It protects the vaccine companies from any
Right.
lawsuits. Guess what? Why do you think it takes 4 or 5, 6 years to release a drug and 4 or 5 or 6 weeks or a few months to release a vaccine? Because they can't get sued. They don't care.
Right.
Let's just release it. Let's just give it to everybody in the world. You times that by $50 a person, we just made
Mhm.
$1 trillion or whatever it is,
Right.
400 billion, whatever. I don't care. So if you can give 20 vaccines before they're 1 year old, how many hundreds of billions of dollars did they just make? So this is literally your first Zoom meeting. So
Yes.
you're the last person on Earth to use Zoom, right?
Yes, I survived the pandemic not ever having to do a Zoom, so
I don't
here
know
you
how you
go.
did that, but congratulations. Um,
Yeah, I fly under the radar pretty much and do my
yeah,
own thing. So,
yeah. I was gonna ask you about that because I know you're very health conscious and just conscious. Period. Like you're very curious more than probably
yeah,
anybody I know. It's like you hear something on the news or you see some so-called expert say
yeah.
something is true, and then you just immediately research it. Like, oh, okay, this is the real facts. More than anybody else I know. So when did you start doing that? Did you always do that, or when you started having kids? Because I know you have a bunch of kids, but like, when did that really start for you?
Yeah, I think I've always been a pretty curious person and want to just know the truth about things, but especially when I had kids, knowing that these little ones are completely dependent on me caring for them and, just the command of God to train them in the way they should go and to, entrust their life to me, that's just huge for any parent, and so I just want to make sure that if I expose them to anything or put something into their body or whatever it is that I'm allowing them to be exposed to or have a part in, that I've checked it out and I feel good about it and I feel like it's safe and healthy, And so that's just the way I go at life, you know.
But that's not what the U.S. government says. They said they should be the ones who decide what's healthy for your kids and what they should be taught in school and stuff like that, right? So why'd you go against
Right.
the trend? You don't trust the U.S. government? And-
Well, let me say that I'm not necessarily a conspiracy theorist, but I have observed that most of what you hear out there, you know, according to the experts, doesn't seem to make sense to my little mind. And I've seen just a lot of, just turmoil and trouble that people go through when they follow the path that the big entities tell them is right or good or wrong. And I just know, again, just listening and observing, the almighty dollar kind of drives everything.
Do you think
And
that
that
it's
doesn't,
really the main cause? Like, there's no real, like, aliens behind it or lizard people, but it's really just money? That's
well,
it? Like, that's
okay.
simple. I've been thinking
Yes,
about this
but
a
I also
lot.
believe I believe it's somewhat bigger than that. I'm a
Mm,
Christian, and when I read in God's word that, you know, the enemy, Satan, comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Bottom
mm.
line, that's his whole agenda. And everything that he has is evil. All of his tactics involve deception. That tells me enough right there that if something is mainstream, something is pushed hard, you know, that I need to be skeptical. I need to understand that there is an evil force in the world and it's out to steal, kill, and destroy me and my family. And so that right there just makes me aware that I can't just go about blindly accepting what anybody tells me. I need to research it, pray about it, feel good about it, because I'm answerable to God for what I do, to myself and certainly for my children and my family. So yeah, I do think it's it's driven by money, but it says, the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. And so when these people that rake in billions in dollars, over these, because of these industries that, they tell you got to have something, so they're making all this money. Yeah, I think it does, um, often lead to evil, to the point where they don't really care how it's affecting people because they're making so much money off it. And so I just tend to distrust some of those people.
It's interesting
And
too because you think about things that are harming. I'm thinking about people things that harm the community. I mean, like the government, they're basically have one job to protect the citizens, right? I mean, what other
yeah,
job were they created for? That's what their job is. And you think about something like cigarettes. Like I like the smell of tobacco. I haven't used it, but I haven't talked to my wife about maybe I'll start smoking a pipe. I don't know, but I'll just use pure tobacco. And it might not
yeah,
be the healthiest thing, but either is soda. I drink soda every day a little bit or coffee, but cigarettes are just like added all this stuff. It's like a casino, like they're adding stuff to purposely make you addicted and like destroy your life, take all your money. And the government was like, "Oh yeah, we have all these studies now. It is killing people right and left." But, the taxes are just so good. Let's just leave it out there, It's like so
right,
it's like okay, at the bottom line is how much money is it pulling in, not what is the health of our
for sure.
citizens. So,
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, a lot of the things that are pulling in a lot of money are the things that aren't good for people, and they're destroying their health, their well-being, whatever. And to disrupt that system is a big deal, and they're not going to let that happen.
but
If you have another
mhm.
way that doesn't involve, you know, things that cost that much. I've heard enough about people being silenced over, things like natural cures or just, answers that are just simple, affordable. And so anyway, yeah,
And
I've heard enough about that.
I think we talked about this. I don't know if it was you and I or somebody else, but about the reason why the big, vaccine companies, drug companies, medicine companies, whatever you call them, like the reason they don't like natural remedies and things like cures that just work from nature normally. Do you know? Was that you I was talking with? The
Yeah, I
actual
think so.
reason that they don't do that because if it's natural, they can't patent it, and if they can't patent it, they can't corner the market and have a monopoly for 20 years or 25 years or whatever that is, 30 years, whatever it is for medicine. They have different extensions for different drugs and stuff, different types of medicine,
Right.
vaccines, and so it's like, oh, this flower works so good, but we can't patent it. They could just go pick it and anybody could use it and get cured. So we have to like silence that and censor that talk and just take the chemicals, the actual stuff that heals people and mess around with it in the lab, and then there's all these weird side effects because of that. But now we can patent it because we destroyed it and messed around with it so much that it's different
Yep.
than the original cure. You know, they do that every
Exactly.
day, all the
Right.
time, just so they can
Yep.
make more money off of it. It's crazy. Like they don't care about if we're healthy or not. They're making money the
Exactly.
more less healthy we are, the more money they make.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's really honestly, I think what a lot of it comes down to. It's sad, but that's why you got to look out for yourself and uh, not trust too many people when it comes to your health and well-being.
Hmm.
So
And I was wondering, so because I know that you told me one time that when you really got onto this, like the medicine industry and the vaccines and stuff like that, you said you were in the hospital having, I think it was your first child, and then
yep.
our sister-in-law came and gave you some information. Was that when you really started to focus in on medicine and vaccines and stuff like that?
Yes. I had, my first child. Yeah, I wasn't really aware of all the decisions I would have to make
Mhm.
regarding her health and, vaccines and all this. It all came upon me so suddenly that I was like, oh, what? And she was born premature. She was 4.5 pounds. And all of a sudden I'm being bombarded by doctors that are telling me just kind of routine, like, oh, we're going to give her da 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 da. And they rattled off a whole bunch of vaccinations they wanted to pump my 4.5 pound daughter with.
Oh my gosh.
And a big red flag went up in my mind, like, I don't even see how that makes sense. There's just no, she doesn't have any body weight here. 4.5 pounds is not enough to, I think, I mean, when you talk about dosages of medicines, you always dose it down according to weight. And I'm like, she barely weighs anything. Didn't make
Wait,
sense.
they
So
wanted
I
to
was
give
just
it
really,
to give vaccines to your child before you left the
yeah,
hospital?
hepatitis
A
that you get
premature baby?
through. Yeah. And I looked at hepatitis. I'm like, what? You get that through sex or blood transfusions or something crazy? I'm like, where's the risk for this 4.5 pound little newborn infant? I didn't. So that just made
Oh my
me
word.
automatically think this doesn't make sense. It just doesn't even make sense. So I immediately began to think, okay, this is on me. I need to figure out what I'm doing here and not just trust somebody in this, with my daughter's life. And so, yes, my sister-in-law gave me, I think I reached out maybe to family at that time, and she came up with some information that I had just never been exposed to before regarding
So so
vaccines.
you had this thought when they started saying all these vaccines they wanted to give your premature baby, and then you kind of just put it out there. Hey, is anybody dealing with this? Am I the only one? Like, and then you got all this information back.
Exactly.
I had the same thing. Like, when I realized what happened to our child and the brain damage, the swelling that happened when he was 1 year old, and I just like made a video and I just sent it out to everybody I knew, all my family and friends. And
Yeah.
you know what I got back? I was thinking they would all write back and say I was crazy, what are you talking about? And there was a few people that just didn't say anything back. And so I know those
Yeah.
people think I'm crazy. But I would say that's probably like 7% of the people of the couple hundred that I sent it out to. Half of the people who did respond said, yeah, I don't give any vaccines to my family ever. And the other half said, Oh, I research these people that do these independent researchers, the independent studies of vaccines and what's necessary from based on history, what is, the like they and all the independent doctors that are doing these studies, they all came to these few basic conclusions that if you're going to do vaccinations with your children, they all have the exact same thing. You know what they say? They say never vaccinate a child that's under 3 years old. All of them say that. That I've seen, all the independent studies. They say never use a combination vaccine like the MMR or the one
Mm-hmm.
back in the 70s, CTS or whatever it is. They bundle a whole bunch of vaccines into one vial and they just jab it into your little baby. And,
Yep.
and then, so they said never do a combination. If you're going to vaccinate, they list like a few, maybe up to five. I've heard at the most. Like these are pretty standard. It would be good at some point to vaccinate your children with these if you're going to do it, but only do it one at a time and no less than 6 months apart between each shot. And so if you go in and you just ask the doctor, they'll just be like, "Oh yeah, we'll just pump him like 12 now, and then a couple months come back, get 14 more or whatever." It's like, and but all the people who do studies that say, uh, that these people, this other group of scientists or medical researchers or doctors, they're doing studies, but guess who their paycheck comes from?
Mm-hmm.
The companies that make the vaccines. And guess what they all
Exactly.
say? I'll give you one guess. They're all vaccines are perfectly safe. Get them as early as you
Exactly.
can, as many as you can. They all say that. But they're getting their paycheck
Right.
from the vaccine makers.
Yeah.
So it's like basically there's two groups. There's independent thinkers, and there's people who are getting their paycheck from big corporations that are making the billions.
Yeah.
So who are you going to listen to? If you
Yeah,
even decide to
exactly.
do any at all. That's the big decision I have to make now because the reason I really dug deep into this is because we have a second child who just turned 12 months old, like a week ago. And my wife is like, okay, do we need to find a doctor now that we moved and then get the vaccination started and all this stuff? I'm like, and then I looked at our 3 year old and I'm like, there's something wrong. There's something, this isn't right. So I just started researching and then it just all flooded, all this information flooded into me and just like my brain was just overloaded with what happened and I had to go through the grieving process of what I let happen. And so now I have to make this big decision. Do I do any vaccines? Or do I do follow the guidelines of the experts that independent medical experts?
Well, bottom line, why are you doing them? It's supposed to help them build up an immune response or whatever
Mm.
to these diseases, supposedly. Well, I mean, I haven't done any vaccines with my kids. They're now ages 20 to
So
26.
not a
And
single one ever.
well, okay, my brother who lives on a farm once scared me about the tetanus. And before
Oh
I
yeah,
sent my kids there for a weekend, he told me, so my boys, I did get one tetanus shot, but I never got the
because
booster
of
after that.
lockjaw, right? Is
Yeah,
that what it is?
he's a
Yeah.
doctor and he scared me and everything. So I did
Yeah.
do that once, but then I decided no, that's ridiculous.
And
Anyway,
those you only have to do what every 7 years they say. If you, and if only
yeah.
if you get cut by a rusty metal or something like that.
Yeah, and so they were going to spend a week with him at his
Hmm.
farm, and he was all kind of wigging out over the potential risk there, and so I
Yeah.
did do that once. But no, other than
And
that,
that's a little bit
um,
different, I would say, than the ones that they want to pump your babies full of. Like that's
right,
specific to you have a danger of this rusty stuff. It's like it's not just they're babies. These are kids. They're older. You have a
right.
so
But I
I can totally see that.
also believe that just after a little bit of research about, okay, what is the immune system all about, and what is it capable of, and how does it function, and why does it need help from vaccinations or whatever else. And after really studying, I mean, it's pretty miraculous, the system that God put in our body, and it's designed to heal our body. That's what it's designed to do. And I mean, this body is a machine. It needs certain nutrients to function
Mm.
ideally and optimally. And that immune system is this miraculous system within our own bodies that, if it given the right fuel, will have the power to heal our own bodies. And I dealt with my own health crisis. I had cancer myself at one time, and it was recommended me that I get surgery and radiation and all these things, and I just really didn't have a peace about it when I looked into, what that treatment was all about, and what the immune system was capable of. And I thought, well, then wait a minute. I hear all these cancer treatments and everything, and they kill the immune system, and people are just, they're maimed and disfigured, and they're suffering from the effects of these treatments.
With
And I thought, that doesn't
radiation.
make sense to me. Yeah, if they're supposed to be getting better, why are they getting worse with the treatments? And it's basically like, hey, we'll try to kill everything, hoping that you survive the treatments and then build yourself back. And then for people that the cancer recurs. Well, why? Because you didn't take care of the root cause of why it was there to begin with. I believe there's a breakdown somewhere as to why your immune system isn't functioning as it should. And so I just thought in my simple little mind, hey, well, why don't I see about strengthening my immune system and maybe filling in the gaps with the fuel and the nutrients maybe my body isn't getting somehow, or I've had exposure to something that's caused this deficiency in myself. And so I went on a track and I was in a bad way. I mean, I was dying of cancer. Like it was getting
Did
me.
they
And
say like a certain stage? They have different stages, don't they, when it's
I mean,
developing?
they just told me, if you don't do this treatment, it's going to kill
Did
you.
they say, did
So
the
I
doctors
didn't get.
say how long they thought it would be before you were dead?
No, not
Okay.
specifically. It was a slow growing thing,
Mm.
but I started to have some effects of that. And anyway, it was just something that I just I took a chance on, and I went another path. And my other sister-in-law introduced me to a natural doctor, and with his guidance and help and a lot of faith and perseverance and consistency of going on the path, that I got completely free without any. Oh, and I read so many testimonials of doctors themselves that had gotten disease and cancer that was killing them, and they got free through all kinds of natural means
It's
and
funny
cleansings and all this
they
stuff.
didn't even use the things that they were
No,
taught in
doctors
school.
themselves. And I was like, okay, if even one person has gone this way and it's worked out for him, I'm willing to take that risk, because I see, the benefit of their life being improved and not taken away from by these maiming, awful treatments. These just nothing makes sense about that to me. So I went on that path myself, and I'm completely free, healed, and I've learned so much over the years about, keeping myself in a good place nutritionally. I've been able to pass that wisdom on to my kids. And I mean, I don't have all the answers,
Mm.
but I know sort of where to look for them. And there are experts in the field of nutrition, and being a doctor of health. I mean, I think
Is
this.
there any specific doctors that you can say off the top of your head, or specific treatments that you know that you have proven to
Well,
work, or that you
I mean,
use?
basically, everybody's body is different, and
Mm.
you respond differently and metabolize things differently. So there's a lot of technology within the natural doctor realm that they use to try to help you specifically pinpoint what your body needs.
Mm.
And there's like uh, some of them use like a full body scan that reads your body system, and it's all done through magnetics and frequencies and stuff. And I mean, it makes scientific sense. I just don't know enough to be able to talk about it, but it's fascinating. And let me just tell you, I mean, I'm living proof that I I did have cancer and I don't anymore, and I feel better than I ever
Do
have. And
you take
I,
certain supplements? Because I did the research. I
yeah,
don't know if you saw my last video, but I did the research about the
yes,
DHA amino fatty acids. Um, uh, Omega 3 is the big one if you don't eat a lot of fish, which, if you're not living in a coastal town or in Asia, you probably don't eat fish every day as those people do. So
right.
we started taking that. I went online. They said that you have to find wild caught cod, and then you want the pure cod liver oil. So I went online, found it. Um, it's this company called Nordic Naturals. This is not an
That's all.
advertisement, but this is just what we've been.
Yeah.
So our whole I said that's it. Our whole family's gonna get super powered brains. We're all gonna take a spoonful of cod liver oil. And I remember our mom saying that when we were kids, like, you should take cod liver
Yes.
oil. I'm like, I don't like the way it
I know, I
tastes.
hated it,
But now
but I
that we're
love it
growing
now.
up, it's like, no, this is actually reduces swelling, inflammation. It like makes your brain function better, like all these things.
Yeah.
And she was right. Like, oh, man, our parents were right. Why do they have to be right? But they have a lot of different flavors, like
Yeah.
lemon, orange, strawberry, and then no flavor. But the strawberry is the best. Like, that's hands down. We all voted. Everybody loves the strawberry, so there's no point in getting any other flavor. So, strawberry flavor,
Wait,
cod
what? Tell
liver.
me what that brand is
It's
again.
called Nordic Naturals. Nordic, like the Vikings, Nordic
Yeah.
Naturals, and it's just cod liver oil, wild caught, not in the pills, but just the liquid, just the
Right.
raw,
Okay.
pure cod liver oil. Strawberry flavor is the one everybody loves so far, compared to the other ones.
Okay.
Not that they love it, they just love it better than the other flavors.
Right.
So now
Yeah.
I have to take the bite the bullet and drink all the the other flavors
You go.
because no one else will drink. They only want the
Yeah.
strawberry. So, and then another thing we did, I didn't even think about this because I'm like, up until a couple of weeks ago, I was the biggest skeptic about, anything, all these natural ways and stuff. And now I'm like just researching, just, okay, what works, what doesn't. And my wife actually started doing these. And like I said, I was the biggest skeptic for a few years because I would see them online on Facebook and Instagram. But these natural oils, what are they, essential oils, they call them.
Essential
So
oils.
she
Yeah.
started doing this. What's this company? This is called Plant Therapy brand, and it's just like, these calming essential oils from nature. And so every
Yeah.
night before a 3-year-old child goes to bed, um, the one that has the brain damage, my wife will massage his head with the oil, his neck, wrists,
Aw.
stomach, chest, shoulders, and just like rub that in. And I think it's having a big effect. Like, he seems happier, he's more
Yes.
affectionate, and it could be partially because of the oil and that, just like that smell. I walk in when she's doing that, and it just like opens up my pores, and I feel happier just smelling it. But then also,
Yeah.
when you have a bunch of little kids, the younger ones get more of the skin on skin contact, and as they get 2 years old, 3-year old, 4-year old, they get a lot less attention and a lot less skin on skin contact. So I think that
Yeah.
that's also helping, just to have that massage each night with his mom.
Yeah.
And then now it just seems like, we're all just a little more affectionate. We're all just like trying to really, um, I think it has a lot of benefits in different aspects. So,
Yeah. I haven't gotten as much into essential oils, but I
mm,
definitely believe in their use and power. Like, there's just so, the great thing is, I mean, kind of the good and the bad is there's so much that it's a little overwhelming. You have
yeah.
to sift through it. And like I said, it might work for one and not the other. Like, it's just something you got to explore and keep trial and error kind
Mm.
of thing. But the good thing is there is so much available
And
that
it's
you
not
can
like
keep
it's
searching
not
and
like if
finding
you
stuff.
use the wrong thing, it's gonna hurt you. It's like they're
And
all
that's the
just
whole point.
beneficial, adding.
We're talking about natural supplements. We were
Right.
talking about food supplements. It's just food for your body. And
Right.
it's, yeah, some of it's, it's extracted and concentrated, but yeah, most of the stuff is not going to hurt you, like you said,
Only
the
because
wrong
our
stuff.
diet isn't perfect. That's the only reason you need supplements, because we can't have a perfect
Exactly.
amount of fish every day, the perfect amount of every
Yeah.
little plant. And the thing is, I remember you telling me you had a child that would only eat crackers and bread growing
Yeah.
up. And then what did you do was really ingenious, I thought, to get all those vegetables and nutrients in.
Oh, I got a magic bullet, and I
Uh-huh.
started making shakes. And I started out with like a chocolate shake, just a chocolate and milk, and then I slowly snuck in some vegetables and some different things. And when you liquefy it, they couldn't tell, so I just
Right.
kind of it transformed over time, and like I got the stuff in him, and it took a while for his taste buds to kind of catch up with, and his brain to catch up with understanding that he needed these things and started to actually eat them. But yeah, I mean, like whatever you need to do, get the stuff in there. But it'll change. I know it changed him when he started eating the right things. It changed everything about his mood, his ability to think clearly, and have the strength. I mean, he was always kind of sick. Everything would hit
So
him harder
even
than
with the
other people.
shakes, that was the.
No, after we started, that was after I started to do that kind of thing. When he
Mhm.
was little, I struggled getting
Yeah.
him to eat
Yeah, but
anything.
with
But
the
yeah,
shakes, that was the proper amount of nutrients and vitamins and stuff that it started to improve his health, and you saw
it
a
definitely
difference.
did. Yeah,
And then how many
and
years
I
did you do
started
that
to.
before he started actually eating anything other than
Uh,
crackers and bread?
Yeah, it was a few. He didn't eat meat until he was 14.
Oh wow.
So, and I know some people are vegetarians or whatever, or vegans, but he just needed, he was a big baby, a big boy. He needed a lot more than he was getting. And
Mm.
it was a few years for sure before I started to reason with him, and he wanted to have big muscles like the guy in the magazine, and he figured out he needed to actually eat more.
Yeah,
So
that'll work.
we got there,
If you
but
want to impress a girl, then okay, I'll change it. I'll change what do I have to
yeah,
do?
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's no.
So,
I like the what you said is how you did it slowly. You said, oh, you want
yeah,
some chocolate milk, a sundae or
yeah,
whatever. Then you started sneaking stuff in. It's like when I go for long periods of time without working out because I get busy or we're doing a move or something, and then I'm like, oh, I got
right.
to start working out again. If I work out too much all at once, I'll injure myself, and then I can't work
Yeah,
out for a couple more months. So it's like you just slowly ease into it. You don't want to shock your body. Just like slowly start
yeah,
things and just keep adding more healthy things and take away the less healthy things, right?
exactly. That's what I did when I started down the path toward, especially with my health crisis, realizing, oh my gosh, probably everything I'm doing is wrong. I'm just going to take one little bite of that elephant at a time.
Hmm.
I mean, just simple stuff like, I mean, even like aluminum deodorant. We know that there's issues with that. So, just change the one thing at a time, and then create a new habit. And then, oh, I probably need to have a little more of this. So
I
you
tried
start
that
just
though.
tweaking
I
things.
tried to go non-aluminum and it didn't work for me. And I was like, I'm probably gonna lose my job. So I went back. I used the Arm& and Hammer one. It's just like a white powder, but it does have aluminum
Oh,
in it. I haven't found anything else that works for me except that one. No, nothing.
there's so many
I'm
out there,
just
though. I'd
smelly.
say don't give up on
I'm
it.
just way too smelly. I don't know what to do. You have to give me some suggestions, and then I'll try out some different things because I've tried everything. I've tried like the salts, minerals. I've tried everything, and nothing works for me.
Did you ever try Everyman Jack?
I don't know. It's not maybe, but send me a few suggestions, and I'll try some stuff. I'll go to a health food
Okay.
store or something and try some things.
Yeah, you
I'm not
can.
gonna give
Yeah,
up. I'll just keep looking for because I feel like
yeah,
if keep looking, eventually you'll learn more, get closer to the truth. But it's
yes,
these people that want to censor things, that's when it's like, okay, why do you want to censor me? If I'm looking for the truth, and if
right.
you're actually telling me what's true, there'd be no reason to censor me. Let me look at all the facts, and then
Well, if you're confident
if
you've
you're
got
actually
the
right, I'll come to the conclusion
exactly.
that you're right. So if you censor
What are
people,
you
I
threatened
know you're
by?
hiding
What are you threatened
something.
by? If you've got the answer
Right.
that everybody needs, yeah, just why are you scared of it? So, but like I said, I think one of the biggest things was because there's so much, and it's hard to know what direction to go or what you really need, is to work with the experts in that field. I mean, medical professionals really are not trained in healthcare. It's really about sick care. and symptom management.
I like that.
And the,
Where did you hear that term?
it's sick care.
Is that what
Well,
the
they need
health
you
food
somewhere between
people?
sick and dead so you can be in treatment all the time
Is
or
that
on
what
medication.
the health food doctors say? They say that we do health care and the medical field does sick care.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, seriously, it just, again, it just doesn't make sense when all they do is wait till you have a problem and they cut it out, burn it out, freeze it out, give you
They
chemicals
make a
to,
lot of money doing that.
yes. And then you're left with other side effects or other things you've got to take care of with some more drugs and some more treatments and vicious cycle of, I mean, most people are on all kinds of medications. And I'm telling you what, your liver that has to process that stuff, those things weren't meant to be in your body. They're not food.
Well, if you see
They're foreign
a
substances.
commercial for a drug, it's like we'll cure this one problem, but then they list 300 side effects.
Uh-huh.
So you're gonna cure one problem and give you 300 more problems. There was
Yeah,
this one movie,
exactly.
I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was so cool. Like these people were doing, they were nurses' aides, so they were like helping these people in a nursing home, and they were really lazy, and they just wanted, they just needed a job. So they took out
Yeah.
all the old people's prescription pills, and they started playing poker with them, and just like instead of giving them their pills, and then all
Oh
the
no.
elderly people in the nursing home got really healthy because they weren't taking all these drugs. So they started partying, playing poker every night, going
I
out
love it.
dancing and stuff. So it was awesome. Like, I can't remember the name of that movie. I have to look it up, but it was
Oh my
so
gosh, you
funny.
have to tell me that.
I have to
Yeah.
find it. I'll have to Google it and I'll send
What
you
is
it.
that telling you? Yeah.
But
That,
this is like 30 years ago they made this movie. They knew all this
oh
stuff
my
back then.
God.
Comedy is usually some of the best form of truth you can find.
I'm telling you what, Josh, I have never felt better in my life. And, like I said, I know what it's like to be suffering with a health crisis. And I know what could have happened to me had I those treatments. And I've seen so many people just lose their life or lose their quality of life after going through those medical treatments. And I am so thankful that I went the path that I did. Yeah, it was scary because it's the path less traveled for sure. And you don't want to share, your journey with too many people because they will think you're freaky and just risking your
Yeah,
life and
but
everything. But
I want to push back a little bit on that because I think that sharing like this is why I'm doing this podcast because I think people that are afraid to share, that's when more, if people had the information, it was more flowing and readily out there. Like, I'm still looking for the right channels that I won't be censored, where I can actually speak what I want thinking.
well, yeah,
It's like maybe Spotify is like the way to go. They don't seem like they're censoring as much as YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. All those people, they're just like so afraid about politics and they don't want to lose their money in stream. But one thing that's good about Spotify, it's not a United States company. So like the FCC can't. They could put limitations on it and try to ban it in the U.S., which I don't think they're gonna do. If they're like, oh, you can't, that's too bad. But like they even try to do that with TikTok because it's like Chinese owned and like, oh, it's a communist country, and they still can't even censor that entire, like, not the whole app. Like, they're just like, okay. But
right.
so it seems like the only way, if you're gonna speak your mind, you have to be on some kind of app, using an app that's not U.S. based because it'll be censored. Even though we're supposedly
Right.
the country with free speech.
In this free country where,
Right.
yeah, freedom of speech. What?
We're really the only ones
Where'd
that
that
get
go?
censored. I don't know. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I get you. It's just, you have seen people that get their lives destroyed by trying to, go against the flow and speak out about something that isn't mainstream. And,
Are you afraid
it
though? Are
is,
you afraid that people will come after you?
no,
if you speak
No,
your mind?
I don't have anything that they need. I'm talking about people that have a lot to lose. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but
Like,
more
um,
what more to lose do you
I
have than your
know.
life, your health, your family? I mean, if I speak my mind and someone listens to this podcast and say, "Oh, that crazy dad not giving all those vaccines to his babies,"
Right.
like, but it's like everything is a risk. You're taking a risk if you give
Yeah.
vaccines, if you don't give vaccines. Both are a risk, but
Right.
what's the better risk? A disease that. Now, here's the thing: vaccines, I know that they saved people from these plagues, like whatever it was, 80 years ago, okay, and beyond that. But what helped more than the vaccine might be even just having clean water to drink and proper sewer
Yeah.
drainage that they didn't have back then.
Exactly.
Because the
And washing
diseases,
their
yeah,
hands,
washed in the hands.
sanitizing before they. Yeah.
Or back then they were washing their hands with the same water that
Right. That's what I'm
they're
saying.
reusing
A
the
lot of it.
water and with the people that had the sickness. So just having clean water to drink and a sewer line that's not backing up while everybody else's sickness, that's stopping most of the plagues right there without the vaccine. But then if
Right.
there is something, that is like when's the last time we had a true like scare? Not I'm not talking about COVID, but like whatever the Black Plague or whatever. But it is mostly due to the spread of it is mostly due to unsanitary conditions that people lived in back then.
Right. But again, if your own immune system is functioning as it should,
Hmm.
the job of it is to fight off
Yeah,
disease.
and
You know what I'm saying?
malnutrition.
And
Back then, they didn't have the access. All the people in the cities, they didn't
right.
have
So what I'm saying is,
vegetables for
yeah,
every
we
day.
have what we need right now
Yeah.
to keep our bodies running as they should.
Hmm.
So we shouldn't fear to disease because our immune system should be able to, recognize it
Hmm.
and fight it
And
off. I mean,
I'll
that's
say
really
this,
what we want.
this might get me canceled too, whatever that means. I don't know what that even means, but um, so I was help volunteering to help, kind of ironically, with the COVID pandemic. So I was working in hospitals during the pandemic, during the lockdowns, and like the thick of it. And I would see people come into the hospitals, and most people recovered, but there are a few people that died from it. But they had like usually 3 to 4 comorbidities, they call them. And
Right.
so basically they had diabetes, or they were severely obese, or they were over 70 years old or 65, whatever that age is. Like they had 3 or 4 of these other things that severely weaken their immune system, right? And then when you
Right.
add on that COVID on top of that, boom, they get hit with that, and they're trying to fight off all this other stuff that they had been, and they weren't strong enough, and they died. But like normal,
Right.
healthy people that eat vegetables, and they're not severely obese or old or very old, elderly, and have diabetes or cancer or stuff already, they all seem to recover. It's like, yeah, we all get
Yeah.
sick, but um, yeah, the way they handled it. I've heard people talk about, like the people in the nursing home were the most vulnerable. So what they do, they send people with COVID into the nursing homes. The exact opposite of what you should do. Like,
I
I don't know, it's just
know.
like totally crazy. But just,
Yeah.
but I saw, I'm like, okay, so they're telling people to get these vaccines that aren't tested properly, and like they tested them on a couple mice or something. Like, okay, they're good to go. The mice lived for 4 days, so let's give them to everybody else in the world. But do you know why that is? Do you understand, like, if you do you, of all the laws about around vaccines and the things that they did in the 70s and 80s, uh, legally with vaccines, like how they put precautions in place and stuff? Do you know about all the like those actual laws that they have? Why vaccines are different than any other kind of medicine or drugs? You don't know about that? Is it okay if I just tell you what I found my
Sure. Yeah.
research? So in the 1970s, it was a few years ago, they had thousands and thousands of parents that said that their children went and got a vaccine. It was usually this combination vaccine, like three different vaccines all in one, right? And then they said, their kid got sick, and after that, they weren't able to talk. They could barely walk, and so they came up with this term for it, autism. Oh, it's autism. No, it's not. You just scrambled that kid's brain. So they have thousands of cases of this reported from vaccines, and then hundreds of lawsuits against the vaccine makers. Hundreds each year. Hundreds. And these are multi-million dollar lawsuits. So, guess what they did? They went to Congress and they're like, "Oh, we need to make a law. This is way out of control. This is just untenable." So they made a law. It's called the National Childhood Vaccine Safety Act. Okay, they said we are going to put a stop to this. There's hundreds of thousands of kids, hundreds of lawsuits every year, and this can't go on. So we're going to protect kids. We're going to put a stop to these vaccinations of babies. Completely outlaw combination vaccines. And then when they put that law in place, then the rate of autism diagnosis went down by 99%. But actually, I'm just joking. None of that actually happened. I just made that up. Okay, you want to know the real story? What happened?
Okay.
That the first part is true about the thousands of parents reporting these cases of autism each year and hundreds of lawsuits, multi-million-dollar lawsuits, okay? But the real law that they passed in Congress in 1986 is called the National Childhood Vaccination Injury Act. And you know what the law does? It protects the vaccine companies. It says, doesn't matter how many children you scramble their brains, you injure them. It's in the name of the law, National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. And now they're trying to tell us that vaccines don't cause injuries to children. There's a law, but the law doesn't protect the kids. It protects the vaccine companies from any lawsuits. Right. Guess what? Why do you think it takes 4 or 5, 6 years to release a drug and 4 or 5 or 6 weeks or a few months to release a vaccine? Because they can't get sued. They don't care.
Right.
Let's just release it. Let's just give it to everybody in the world. You times that by $50 a person, we just made $1 trillion. Or whatever it is. 400 billion, whatever. I don't care. So if you can give 20 vaccines before they're 1 year old, how many hundreds of billions of dollars did they just make? And they can never get sued. Because of this law that was literally passed that says it is lawful and legal for you to injure children in the United States or anywhere else for that matter, because they export all these vaccines all over the world. I have family in all kinds of different countries, and so all these things are happening. They use vaccines in one place, and like, oh yeah, this looks good. Let's export it to all these other countries and make another 100 billion. Can you believe that? The actual law that states it is legal to harm children.
And tell me it's not all about money.
Well, and I think what you hit the nail on the head. The underlying is this love of money. It's not money itself. It's the evil, greedy, thing that creeps up and says you can have it all. You can be in control and just.
If they were actually concerned about the health of these children, this is not what would be happening. They would be changing something about the treatment if that many injuries are resulting from the treatment.
No, but they didn't change that. They just they're just like, no, let's protect the vaccine companies.
It tells you everything you need to know.
And I think that not everybody is evil that was involved, but I think they slipped it in, and they're like, there's a few people that are kind of in these back rooms, if we can get this slipped in there, attach it onto another bill or something and just slide it through, we'll give you some money for your campaign next year, And I think there's all these different backroom cigar smoking rooms where all these deals happened. What kind of people, though, would trade the future being crushed of these hundreds of children where they can't realize their full potential in life because their brain is scrambled. They're the walking dead for a few dollars. Like, what, you're trading that? These are not just people. These are the future of our humanity. These are our
Well,
future.
they might be the same people that think we have an issue with, population, and
Oh yeah.
you know what I'm
But
saying? They're all
this
about
is
population.
I
You know
would
what
even
I'm
say
saying?
this is.
People are expendable.
But how devious is this? They're not controlling the population. They're just turning the population into zombies. What?
Yeah, but then those people are in treatment.
Oh yeah, making more money off of autism. That's
Yeah,
because it's autism isn't because of vaccines. Vaccines can't cause autism. It must
never.
be genetic. It must be the parents' fault. Those evil parents.
Let me see. What is the rate of increase of autism in the last, I don't know,
Directly
20?
directly connected to the rate of vaccines.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it doesn't take a genius to see what's going on, and I'm like, you know what? If there's even a chance that that could injure my child, it's not
That's exactly
happening.
what I
I'm sorry.
said. Somebody said, "Oh, well, are you sure? Are you going to risk the health of your children on this hunch?" I'm like, "Well, I've been doing a lot of research. It's not really just a hunch anymore. I mean, I'm researching actual facts, actual laws that they've been
Let
censoring.
me ask you this: how many kids have you, or adults who weren't vaccinated as children, are you finding that are having
Autism
issues?
or
I don't know.
whatever. I know there are some, and I know that vaccine isn't the only way to get a brain injury,
Right,
right? There are other ways to get brain injuries. People have strokes. They have lack of oxygen. What are they? The cord was
right,
wrapped around their neck
exactly.
in the womb, whatever. But it's all like the same thing. Like, but these vaccines, it's usually the combination vaccines, and it's like one out of every so many come back from the hospital with a
And that
zombie.
number just keeps growing. Why is that number
But it's
growing?
not
I
just
mean, there
it's
has to
not
be a
just a
reason.
number. I mean, these families, they have the same experience as I did. They have this healthy baby responding to instructions, locking eyes with
Hmm.
you, and studying your facial expressions.
And that's the key
And
right
then when
there.
they
They
come back
weren't
from the
born like
hospital, getting
that.
their MMR or whatever combination vaccines, pumping them with 21 different things in the first 8 months or 12 months or 14 months of their life. And then they come back and they can no longer look you in the eye. They can no longer respond to instructions. They can't wave goodbye to their grandparents anymore. Like, okay, what happened between now and a couple weeks ago? I
Right,
mean, come
exactly.
on.
Yeah, it's sad.
And
It's
the
really sad.
exact cause, it's there's different theories on the exact cause. Whether people have speculated, oh, it's these different ingredients they use, or they get sick with their stomach. There's one that study, they have a stomach issue. It leaches into their brain. It causes brain swelling. Whatever. I don't care. Who cares if what the cause is? It's happening.
Yeah,
I don't care what the exact cause. I mean, I do care for studying
right.
purposes, but they keep saying it's not true. Vaccines are 100%. They won't say 100% because that's not illegal to say that. But they'll say vaccines are safe and effective. Oh, it's safe and effective. Safe and effective. Okay, safe and
Effective
effective.
for what?
Exactly. Safe for who?
What
The politicians?
what's the effect that I'm going for
It's safe and
here?
effective.
You know what I mean?
It's the politicians are perfectly
Uh,
safe in their 20 mansions and all the vaccine company owners. They're safe. And it's effective because it's keep making them a whole bunch of money. So they're safe and it's effective. All right, let's keep it rolling. They don't say it's safe and effective for your child. Oh no, the law says we can harm your child.
right.
We don't need to be safe and effective
I
for you. We
mean,
just safe and effective for us.
right. They're effective for my bank account. Yeah, I mean, somehow my kids made it, and they didn't have any of that
Oh
put in their.
yeah, but you must have homeschooled, right? Because kids have to be fully vaccinated to go to school.
Well, honestly, I did homeschool for many
Hmm.
years, but when my kids did go to school, it's absolutely your right to put in their body what it is that you as a parent approve of, and there are waivers for every situation in school, and even if they tell you there's not, there are.
Mm.
I found them for every school. My kids have all gone through college, all of them. We just got a waiver.
Yeah, I've heard that
it,
from
it
multiple people.
Yeah, that's not anything to fear. So, I mean, seriously, what country are we in? Who can shoot something into your body without your approval, and who can require that for you to go to a school or be at a job? I'm sorry. If that is actually the truth, then that's not a school or a job I want to be a part
That's a
of,
good point.
because you know what I mean? Let's go to the next one, because look, my body, my choice, right?
Mhm. Yeah. I mean,
Anyway,
it's like every day I go online, I'm like, wait, they haven't censored this yet? Like this is just sitting there. Like it's on like the law that I said that says you can harm children with vaccines. It's just still on Wikipedia. They haven't even. That's like they're censoring you
they don't even
because nobody
care.
goes to Wikipedia anymore. Because everybody just goes to Instagram and just looks at the front page and believes whatever they see.
TikTok.
TikTok. So nobody is like us that is willing to do the research and go to Wikipedia and read the actual text on the page without a bunch of people flashing videos in their face. So it's like, and
Yeah.
Wikipedia, I think, is a nonprofit, so they can't, I don't think they legally can be censored. Um, there's some laws around that, but people can go on there and they can make suggestions. And they like if they say oh, if they have got enough suggestions, then they can change the Wikipedia. But people will try to game that. They'll pay people to go on there and like change their story if like famous people do that, to like change it to be more
I believe
favorable.
that.
But there's still things that they've overlooked. Like we can still find that information somewhere out there. Like all this stuff
Yeah,
is still
yeah.
there. You just gotta look for it.
Well, I remember you said something about when you took your son in for their appointment, and the doctor was asking you something. You said, well, I don't know. You're the expert. That's why we're coming to you. And I guess from what I have sort of learned through my exploration and my research and stuff, and just going through this already, I realized I need to be the expert for my child, period.
Mhm.
I might not know everything, but I'm going to make sure that I do enough research, do enough digging and educating of myself to be able to make the decisions that affect my child, because that's my responsibility. These so-called experts don't really care about my child, certainly not as much as I do. And so I just determined that I'm going to consider myself the expert for my child. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to entrust their health and well-being just to anybody else, an expert. I mean, what does that mean? You went to school and you studied this thing, but
Where does your paycheck
again,
come from? That's what I look at first. tell
yes,
me,
that's
tell
what
me
I'm
where
saying.
your
I just
paycheck
know
comes
that
from first. Because if someone says they're an expert, I immediately get skeptical, and I'm like, okay, yeah. And if they tell me they're from the big organization, that's even more
yeah,
skeptical. Oh, CDC. Oh, wow. Okay,
right.
well.
And so my point is, just don't trust anybody because of the title they wear, or, the
Mhm.
label that they have. You're the one that cares the most about your child. And you as a parent have oversight over everything that goes into their body, that they're exposed to, that they're seeing, that they're hearing, that everything in their life. So take it seriously and don't just hand them over to someone. You know what I mean? Like, know what's going
Mhm.
on. If you send them to school, know the teacher, know
Yeah.
know who's educating your child. I mean, if you have a health expert that you trust because you're seeing the results and you know them well enough to trust them, okay. But make sure you know
It's
that,
funny that the
because
doctors, you know, they'll go to school, they'll get educated a certain way, they'll go to do their practice, you know, and they'll sick practice or whatever you call it, And they're not researching
Sick.
everything. They're not before they give it to you. It's all
No.
trickled down from on high, CDC, whatever. So if you can infiltrate the higher ups where the information trickles down from, you infiltrate all the doctors underneath them that they just go for their information. They just go to the website and like do their little login with their medical ID. Oh, this is what we give for this. Okay, we'll give you this drug and this drug. Okay. You know, they don't do the research. They don't have time to do research for
Well,
everything.
you can go to 5 different doctors and get 5 different opinions
Yeah.
too. You know what I'm saying? It's not. I mean, science is it fluctuates from person to person as far as what their observations, what their conclusions are. So
what I liked what you
there
said
isn't one
earlier
answer
is
for
that when a
everything.
doctor gets sick, they immediately are skeptical of all the stuff that they've been practicing and they go look for the truth and they find a totally different path than what they've been
Bingo.
practicing. So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
The actual people don't even trust
Yes.
it when they get sick.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. So yeah. Yeah. So it's just there's a lot to sift through, but um there's enough evidence to know there's something not right. And like I said, if there's even a smidge of a chance that something is going to be detrimental or injurious to my child, I'm going to be on, I'm going to take a step back and say, wait a minute, I got to look into this a little more. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with taking your time and making a decision when it involves the health or well-being of your child.
well, I've got 2 more
So-
years before, you know, our 1-year-old turns 3 and I decided to do any vaccines or so I have to research for 2 years to see whether I'm going to do any vaccines at all or none at that
Well,
time. So
I would say also, yeah, talk to people that have already walked that road and done it or without any.
mhm.
I mean, I'm one of them.
Yeah.
My kids are ages 20 to 26 now, and they're all doing fine.
What happened when there was like
And
an outbreak at Disneyland or something of measles or something? What did you get afraid and like sweat that you were, you know, the world was going to end or your kids were going to die?
no, not at all, because I'm working all the time on strengthening their immune system, and that's what it's capable of, is fighting off disease. And I mean, they got chicken pox when they were a little bit older. I probably should have exposed them when, I think when we were growing up, people had chicken pox like parties and get-togethers so that their kids would get it when they're really young. But no big deal. You get it once you're done.
Is that because the
So
older you get, the worse the pain you're in? when
that's
you're
what they
having it?
say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I heard.
But, they got through it. Not a big deal. But we haven't had any other issues. That was the one thing. But really, for the most part, like, I mean, I don't get sick. I feel stuff once in a while when things come around, and I might have a day of feeling a little bit ooky, but I can tell when my body's fighting something off, and I never, I mean, I've been a single mom for a long time, and I don't have time to be, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, now
And
that we
so
have
I just focus on keeping myself healthy enough to fight it off, so I don't have downtime.
We have
Nobody takes care of me.
high-speed internet and
Pays
Zoom,
my
so
bills.
if I'm sick, I can't get out of even working. I still have to work. Just it's a work from home day. I'm sick, like. So, but
Well, I mean, yeah, I've worked through this whole last several years of COVID.
you
I didn't
you
get
didn't hide in
anything.
your house during COVID.
No, in fact, my job is cleaning people's house, so I'm in their bathrooms. I'm touching all their gross stuff. Yeah, no, I just said, here we go. I didn't
Yeah.
get anything. So,
Um,
I believe it's possible to focus on strengthening your immune system without injections of anything. You know what I'm saying? That's one way that people think that you build up your immunities, but I don't believe that that's the right way, or the way that I would choose. And again, I think there are experts in the field of health and nutrition. I'm not one of them, but I do refer to them.
What
And
qualifies someone as an expert? Someone who's been doing it for 20 years and knows everything about it? I would say you're pretty close to that.
people that study healthcare.
You don't study
not
it?
sick
No?
care.
I study
They
it.
study and they
I'm now
get had
a medical researcher, and I will be for the rest of
well,
my
okay,
life.
I'm saying people that have
Yeah.
actually gone through programs that get degrees and the whole thing. Yeah, but you are
Yeah,
definitely,
you're not
I would say,
licensed. You're
yeah.
not licensed to give medical advice like legally, but you have been
Well, there are
researching it.
actually
Yeah.
a lot of doctors now that do sort of a, a marriage of, they're an MD, but then they've
Hmm.
branched over into a lot of natural stuff in addition to their, their medical practice, and they kind of merge the two. So I think there's a lot more openness to the merging of these things, and I don't know quite how that looks. I know some people that see a doctor that also does sometimes refer them to other natural professionals, or they themselves will also prescribe some supplements in addition
Hmm.
to some medicine. I don't know how that
Well,
all
it's
works,
like
but
if these doctors, the ones that actually care about getting their patients healthy,
yes,
they're like, it's not working with just doing what the CDC tells me what drugs to give them or whatever, you know. So they actually care. I
right,
think some of them, and they don't want to be lazy. They don't want to just write a
right.
bunch of drugs prescriptions, and they're like, these are my friends, you know. Yeah, they're my patients, but I'm not just gonna. This is my responsibility,
Or
you know.
again, they come into their own health crisis
Mm-hmm.
and realize because of what they know what's not going to work for
Right.
them, and they go find,
And they're like, how can I
they
keep
find the
telling
real thing.
people this when I know it's not completely true? You know, I have to tell them something that's gonna
Exactly.
actually because they can't sleep at night. I'll bet, you know, when they know the truth.
Right. But if it's you or your own
Yeah,
family member and you really do care, that's when see a lot of these people go another path,
yeah.
and they look somewhere
And
else
it,
because they know where
yeah,
it's
like
not.
with this research about, and you turned me on to this about the hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Yes.
And what's interesting is that other countries, lots of other countries use it as, you know, they have different healthcare systems, you know, which, you
Yeah.
know, I think our healthcare system has been broken for many decades, probably since
Yeah.
1986. Imagine that. No, but in other countries like the UK, they use hyperbaric oxygen therapy to cure MS, literally, because it
Yes.
pushes the oxygen into places that it's not getting it.
In the Exactly. A
Yeah.
lot of people with strokes and any kind of brain injury, yeah,
Hmm.
it's that forced oxygen. We're talking about oxygen, the basic
Right.
need of
Glucose and
a living
oxygen.
being.
If your cells have that, they will function at
Yeah.
high levels. So, and what's interesting about the guy who on the video that I looked at, that was included in my last video, he was like, it's an additive treatment. So basically, if you combine hyperbaric treatment therapy with any other treatment, it makes it like 3 or 4 times more effective. The other treatments like physical therapy or whatever, nutrients, because it's just
Right.
increasing the levels of your body getting absorbing that stuff
Yeah.
of the other health treatments. So it's like a just multiplier basically. It's what it is, multiplier.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah,
To know
yeah.
that there are options that, yeah, maybe this one thing works for one person, but you've got options. You've got other ways to get
Hmm.
to the same, goal, and to the same end of that path. So that's what's great is that you have the ability to research. You got your own brain. You can figure stuff out, and you can read and talk to people that have had situations and they've gotten, you know, results that you're looking for, and find out how they got there. That's what I did. I was like, let me see, is there anybody that has dealt with this health issue and gotten free using a method other than what they're telling me is my only option.
Yeah.
And I found lots of them, and I'm like, "Ooh, I'm going to listen to their story, and then I'm going to explore some of the things."
Um, I'm gonna share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Okay. Yeah.
Speaking of goals, so I have this GoFundMe page for our child, Kale, for the
Yeah.
hyperbaric chamber because, you know, if we did treatments every day, you're talking a few $100s a day for years to get him
Yeah.
to be where he needs to be. So let me try to find the link. Here it is. So yeah, we've raised $4,272 of the goal so far in the first few weeks. So praise praise God for that.
Praise
I'm
God.
just I'm so excited. I mean, the treatments we're doing, speech therapy, all the different supplements, cod liver oil, and then all the prayers, just tons of prayers from family and friends, that I know how powerful prayer is, and
Yes.
that can't be understated. Um, so, uh, yeah, but I want to do that multiplier. So I want to, as soon as we have enough money between our savings and the fundraiser combined, we're gonna get that thing going. And it's a little bit noisy, so we're gonna have like a little separate closet for the pump. So because in an apartment it probably wouldn't work. We'd have too many complaints. But since we're
Can you send me the link for that GoFundMe?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely will. I'll just
Okay.
say what it is right now, real quick. Let me share my screen again. Just pop it up on here. So can you see it?
It's really super small, but
Oh, on your
okay.
phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I should have the link here somewhere. Let me. Oh, it's back here. Okay, so the link for the GoFundMe is if you type in to any browser gofundme.com/f/help dash pay dash for dash kales dash hbot dash chamber, and then it will pop up with the GoFundMe page, and then you can donate any amount, doesn't matter. Um, and there it's just a basic credit card fee, like 2.5%, 3%, or whatever it is. But I know some people don't like to pay that, but it's just I think it's easier to keep everything in one place for tax purposes. For everything is all we're all doing this together. Um,
Okay.
Instead of like sending with other methods. It's a good website, and you can get the word out to more people, and it's educating people on what's going on. Like, what's HBOT? I don't know what HBOT is, and then they can do their own research. And then when we start doing it, I'm gonna do video recordings every day, and just like, okay, here we go. Here's the next this day. Keep a log of everything. Look at his progress with it, and keep updating people, especially the people that are praying for us and are
Okay.
helping donate. And so that's going to
Definitely.
be definitely um, a regular update. So
I have so much faith, Josh, that because of your tenacity and your openness to, to hear the truth and your desire to give him every every means to get his healing, and because of your faith in God as your ultimate healer, I do believe you're going to get there. I
yeah,
absolutely do. And I'm excited about hearing about your journey, because you're not only going to get it for yourself, but you're going to many people, I
and
believe.
God has a plan. We pray as a
It sure
family
does.
every day. We say, you know what? And even this last time we went to church, and the message I believe was for me. A lot of people say that, but the
Yeah,
message
it is.
it was so good. This is what the message said. It was about Paul being in the prison, and he's locked up for preaching and telling people the truth. Imagine that he's censored. And and then he just prayed, and just he was like locked up in a dungeon. All these chains on him. It wasn't like a cable TV kind of prison. It was like a dungeon with rats crawling on you and stuff. And he's
Mm.
just sitting there praising God. Oh, thank you, God, for giving me life and giving me Jesus to help save me, and lift my spirits. And he was just praising God because we all go through crap. This is life. We're gonna have
Yeah.
good times. We're gonna have bad times. You say that. It's like when you get married, because it's not gonna be perfect. That you have imperfect people trying to live with each other. But it's
Yeah.
like he was just praising God, and then God shook the prison, and his chains fell off. And then what did he do? Did he run away? No, he didn't even run away. He just stood there, and then when the prison guard came in, he's like, "Oh no, I thought I was gonna be beheaded for sure because there was an earthquake and you guys escaped." And like, no, we wouldn't do that to you. You're our friend. He said they said that to the prison guard, you know. And so the message was, you pray and you praise God for the plan that He has, the purpose He has for your life, and that He put you on this earth for a reason. Each person has a reason. Our child has a reason for being here. There's a plan God has. It may be in a week to totally cure him and he's totally healed, and we just go on and like, he lives this awesome life, or it may be years before he's totally cured if that's God's plan, and he helps thousands of people, other kids along the way, get free from this happening to them. Or we end up, it never happens, and we're in this prison of what happened for our whole lives, and then we go to heaven and we rejoice. And I know in heaven he's not going to have this issue. He's going to be able to talk. He's going to be able to do everything. But whether it's a week, a year, a month, 20 years, 30 years, or when we're all in heaven rejoicing, praising God together, God has a plan. He already knows what's going to happen. He knows. So I have to trust him. He's got this. I can't be in control. I just have to
Right.
pray and see what he's going to lead us to next.
And I believe that all of the things that you're going to learn in this journey is going to be so life enriching for you and for so many others. And, sometimes you do get that instantaneous healing from God, but often it is a journey. It's a process. And through that process, there's so many benefits that come from that. And the wisdom you're going to gain about nutrition and health and all the things that God wants for you in that regard, your life is going to be so much better, as you learn more and more about how to have the quality of life that I believe God
Yeah.
intended for you and your
Yeah.
family. So I'm excited about that too.
And one thing about the whole being canceled, losing your job, being ridiculed, whatever, you know what? They've already done the worst that they can do to me. They've already tried to destroy the future of my child. What could be worse than that?
Yeah.
I can't think of pretty much anything. So I'm not afraid of anybody. I'm not afraid of anything. I'll say everything that's happening. I'll speak the truth to the ends of the earth till my dying breath, because they've already done their worst. I'm not afraid of anything else they can do to me. This is the worst thing I can think of. So
You're in a great place because you know what you want and you have the faith to get there. And yeah, you have the attitude now that you need, that nothing's going to stop you,
yeah,
because your love for your child is so great that you will do anything to help him. And I am so excited about that you're fearless, because God's on your side. I mean, this battle is the Lord's. I mean, David took up his slingshot and killed a giant. It's not because he was in himself strong, but because he said, I come at you in the name of the Lord, and the Lord has all power.
yeah.
So with that, and God already knows what your answers are. It's just a matter of you going on that journey to find them and to ask him for them. And they may be given to you one at a time, but you're going to find them, because it says you seek, you'll find. So I have full
That's
faith
great.
that you're going to find.
Every time I have a
what you need.
conversation with someone, whether they agree with me, totally think I'm crazy, or they're just like not sure about me, I'm just like, every time we part ways, I say, keep seeking the truth and don't stop until you find it. So that's going to be my parting word for everybody.
Okay.
Let's do it. We'll find it.
All
Just
right.
don't stop
I'm
looking for it.
excited.
Don't stop.
Well, you sure encouraged me, Josh.
Well, you always
and,
encourage me.
I just know that I get excited when I see people finding freedom
Yeah.
in whatever area in their life.
Yeah.
And I I know that I found freedom in my own life. I've been hit with a lot of big bombs and a lot of loss in my life and a lot of challenges that are beyond what I even thought I could survive. And it's only through the strength in the Lord that I am where I'm at. And I know that when I just read the Gospels and I look at the life of Jesus, just what did Jesus do? He went about healing all. He set the captive free. That's what he was about,
Mhm.
and that's what he told us to do. And so I feel like if I can be even a small part of someone being set free from oppression or bondage or sickness or anything that holds them back from enjoying the fullness that God intended for us, that's what gets me excited, because I believe that is the heart of God. And I know that in him is freedom. He said that's what he's about. He came to set the captive free. So whatever is binding up Kale, I believe that Jesus wants him to be loose, to be set free. And I know that you're going to be on that path to figuring out how to make that happen. So,
Yeah.
and God is with you. Like, the God of the universe is on your
Mhm.
side. You know what I mean? So what more can you ask for
Yeah.
there? I mean, and like you said, with the power of prayer behind you, you know, just keep on.
I
I'm
appreciate it. I
I'm proud of
appreciate
you,
you, yeah,
Josh.
your time.
You're a great dad.
Appreciate you coming on and just I
Yeah.
just want to get the word out to as many people as possible and just don't believe everything you hear. Go on Wikipedia if it's still there tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see if they run out of money or they get censored like all the other sites are. And if you can't, use a
Yeah.
VPN. Go to a different country like Switzerland or
Yeah.
Sweden and see if they have some information that's true. Okay, just don't stop, especially with U.S. big companies that are censored by the government.
Awesome.
So, all right, I appreciate it
Yeah.
so much. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch up with you soon. Definitely see you at the holidays, I'm sure.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thanks, Josh.
okay.
All right.
Catch you
Love
later.
you.
Love you too.
Okay.
Bye.